Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today's look, I mean, I've already got my eyes done, so this is new territory. We've not done this before. Ooh. So as you've probably gathered from the title, we're doing a little bit of SFX Halloween-ish kind of makeup. I say ish, it is Halloween makeup. So we are trying something new today, and I say we because I've never done this before either. So I've never done this before. Well, I've done the wax on one person and I've done other special effects on some people, like blood and stuff. However, I've never done SFX on myself. I've done like blood and bruising, but I've never done wax or prosthetics or anything like that. So I thought, why not do it on YouTube? Because if I absolutely, can't swear, I absolutely mess it up and completely ruin it, then it'll be funny. So that's good, isn't it? I am going to be doing a kind of bullet wound. So I'm going to be having like a bit of wax here, like an SFX part to make it look like I've been shot in the head. Don't ask me why, it's Halloween, it's all I can think of. I don't want to do clowns and I don't want to do skulls because that's what everybody's doing. And even I've done it, so. So we're gonna jump straight in. I'm gonna tell you what you need first, or your products that you need, because it's not actually that many. They're all pretty much from the same brand. But before we jump in, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, thank you very much. That means a lot to me. Don't forget to give this video a like and a comment as well. It helps me out. It helps me out quite a lot in ways you probably don't understand, but it means something to me. So let's go ahead and jump into this SFX Gore Halloween Glamoween tutorial. Glamoween. Glamoween? Right, I'm gonna roll my sleeves up because this is gonna get absolutely messy. And I know it's gonna get messy. You don't know it's gonna get messy, but it is. It's gonna be a right mess. So you don't really need much new products. Like, you can use the foundations you always use, you can use the eyeshadows you always use. That's pretty much the same. There's about 6 or 7 stuff that you need specifically for SFX, and it doesn't have to be this particular stuff, but it helps if it is. So the first thing you're gonna need is 99% alcohol. Now, I am gonna be putting this on my face. If you don't want to do that, that's totally fine. You don't have to. It helps with me because I've got a bit of oil and it's going to dry it out, especially with the glue. But you don't have to use this, but I highly recommend using this. If you don't want to use 99% alcohol, use like an alcohol wipe or a sanitary pad wipe thing and just dry all the oil off. Talking about pads, you're going to need some pads to use the alcohol with, just so it's easy to go on. Don't just go spraying your face with alcohol, oh my god. Another thing you're gonna need is Vaseline, or, well, I just use Vaseline. I guess you could use other lip balms, but I use Vaseline. You're gonna need this for blending the wax out. So I get the biggest tub you can, because you're gonna be using a lot of this. Another thing you can get off Amazon or anywhere, a spatula. Well, I say anywhere, it's quite hard to find a spatula actually. A spatula so you can dig out the wax and so you can manipulate it and all that kind of stuff. And I also use a metal palette to put the stuff on, just so it's a bit cleaner, a bit more sanitary, a bit, you know, organised. Now, the 3 things that are kind of from a brand. So the first thing you're gonna need is spirit gum. Now, you can get spirit gum from Mehron, or you can get it from Krylon. I don't even know what this brand is. Graftobian. I just looked on eBay for the Mehron one, bought this, it's not Mehron. But it works, it's just spirit gum, it's just a sticky glue. We're not gonna be using it on wigs or anything, so you don't have to, like, you know, fork out for an expensive one. I just got this big tub for like £6-8, I don't know, one or the other. Now the other key part is obviously the wax. Now I'm gonna be using wax in this. This is a modelling putty wax from Mehron. I'm using this, I'm not using silicone or I'm not using cotton buds. I am not using cotton buds, they look messy. I'm using a special wax. It's like £6 off Beauty Bay. You can get it on eBay, you can get it off Mehron's site, I think. I don't know. I got it on Beauty Bay for £6. This is gonna be a key part for the modelling of the bullet wound. My words are not working today. And of course you need fake blood. I'm gonna be using the Mehron Coagulated one because it looks a bit more realistic. It's also a bit thicker and it kind of stays in place. It don't like run around everywhere. Now you could use a liquid lipstick. You could use a normal lipstick. You could use paints, like the Peelies ones. But this is actually, you know, blood gel. It looks like blood. So I'm going to be using this. This was like, I don't even know. I think it's like £4 or £5 off Beauty Bay as well. Whatever you do, don't get the Revolution blood. Do not get Revolution blood. It's bright red, almost pink, and it stains. Don't get that. Just get the Mehron one. It works better. So let's go and prep this area for the SFX. I will put on a headband and I'll be right back. I haven't had a wig cap on YouTube for a while. I look insane. So the first thing I'm gonna do is clean my forehead of any oils or anything. So I'm gonna take one of these little cotton pads. I'm gonna spray it with some of the alcohol. Now I've got tough skin, so I can take alcohol and stuff. It's a bit cold. Ooh. Now I'll just wait for that to dry, so it's bone dry, and then I'll start adding some spirit gum. So I've just poured some of the spirit gum onto the metal palette that I have, and I'm taking an old brush, just any brush that you have available, and I'm just going to start lightly dabbing on the centre part of my forehead. Now this is a very old brush and it has red on it. Didn't know that, but it'll mark out where we're putting the stuff, and it's red, so it's kind of like blood. Ooh, see, it all works out in the end. So that's kind of central. It's a bit on the left side, but central enough for me. Now, spirit gum takes a while to dry. It takes quite a long time to get all tacky, so I am going to leave it there whilst I get the wax sorted. Although this spirit gum might dry too fast. I don't know, to be honest. We're on this journey together. So now I'm going to take the wax, which is not my colour at all, but it's the only colour it comes in. But it doesn't matter because we're going to add foundation on top of it in a way. So I'm going to take my little spatula and I'm going to start digging out some of this wax, which is very hard. And I'm not taking out too much, but I'm taking out a little bit at a time, because the more you have, the harder it is to work with. This is where the Vaseline comes in. So you've got this, you've got your wax. I put it in the lid, so you've got that ready. Don't worry about that, that just stays as it is. Then you get your Vaseline, and I'm gonna take a massive, massive load of this, like a huge amount. I'm gonna put that on the back of the palette, and I'm gonna put that on the back of the metal palette, just so it's in ease of access. Now this is where it gets messy. So I'm gonna take the Vaseline on my fingers, and I'm actually gonna take it on both fingers, like both hands, and get them all Vaselined up as much as you can. Then I'm gonna take the wax, and I'm gonna start kind of like rubbing it all together, kind of like just putting all the Vaseline onto it, merging all the bits together. It's awful. It sounds awful and it looks awful. Now you don't want this to be thick, you don't want a lot, you want kind of a thin amount. You want it thick enough that it stays on your face, but not too thick where it's heavy and it drops off. Bit complicated, but when is it not complicated? So I'm gonna get a little bit more because I don't think that is going to be enough. You can put the wax anywhere. I've literally just put it on the palette. It doesn't really matter. Just remember to keep adding Vaseline to your hands and to every wax bit that you have. If you don't add Vaseline to the wax or to your fingers, the wax will stick to your fingers, it'll get all weird, it'll pull itself apart, it'll go all strange. It's doing that now, in fact. Oh, it's getting a bit slippy. Oh! So it will slip out your hands because you've got a handful of Vaseline and wax and all sorts. So don't worry too much. It gets very messy. It gets very annoying. I'm trying to just not drop it on the floor. So I'm basically moulding this into a ball now. I'm just giving you a commentary really because I have no idea how to do this. I'm moulding it into a ball so it all stays together, all the pieces that I've used. And then I'm gonna wipe my hands first. I thought I could smell something weird. It's a spirit gum. Test if the spirit gum's tacky, which it is. And I'm literally gonna plop this, get a mirror ready. I'm gonna plop this onto the center. And that's your look done. I think everybody makes that joke. Right, so make sure it's stuck. It won't really stay there because it's a massive lump of 3D heavy wax on your FOD. But we're gonna blend it out. So take your fingers with the Vaseline and just kind of press it hard and blend out the edges, like really push it out. Doesn't matter if bits break off or anything like that. See what I mean? So I've basically pushed it and pressed all that central bit down so it's flattened. I want all these edges to be as flat as possible. Doesn't matter how far it goes out. If it goes too far, just say you've been shot with a shotgun. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Whoops. Ooh, that feels weird on my forehead. Ooh, I've only just felt it. Remember to pick up more Vaseline. The Vaseline's your tool to blend this out as much as possible. It doesn't matter if there's like bumps or cracks because it's gore, it's like a gory look. We're not going for like a prosthetic nose, or we're not going for a prosthetic ears or anything that's supposed to seamlessly blend. We're just going for something gory. So it's alright to have texture and bumps and cracks and bits that have fallen off because it's a gory look and that's what it looks like. So I'm just going to have a close look. I'm also doing this with my head because I am going to do that. I'm going to do it naturally. So I want to see if it's crunching up anywhere weird. It is here. Just in case it falls off. So once that's basically done, like you flatten it out, I'm going to leave it for a bit because the Vaseline's going to dry and then I can blend it out later if I want, but I'm just going to add some security to the edges so it stays on. So normally people add like liquid latex around the edges because that's sticky, it adds texture and stuff. I've never actually done that. I think if I use liquid latex, because it's so tacky and a bit off, it would actually pull off what I've done. So I'm gonna add a tiny bit of spirit gum just around the edges, like the tiniest bit, just so it stays on. If I can open this bottle, bloody hell. World's toughest bottle. So I'm just gonna take a tad, and I literally mean a tiny amount. I'm gonna dab it into the bottle and just literally dab along the edges. Just along the edges so it kind of sticks down. I mean, it looks kind of bloody now, doesn't it? Ooh. So I'm going to let that dry, I'm going to let the spirit gum dry, I'm going to let the wax kind of sit there, I'm going to have a nice Red Bull, and I will be back to show you how to cut this hole, which is going to be the bullet hole. So now I'm going to start cutting this hole with the spatula that I've got. So I'm going to look into my little mirror here. I'm a bit scared about this one. So I'm going to just make a little incision. Ooh, you can feel the tension in the room. Ooh. Something like that. That's going to be like the length of it. So now I'm going to make a little width incision. Something like that. Get rid of any excess on the spatula. Now I'm going to literally just start digging away at it. Get a close-up mirror. Something like that. That's basically the 3D part. Now I am going to just press it down a little bit, because if I don't do that, it'll just fall off. So I need it to attach it to the base just a little bit. I'm also going to press it a little bit outwards. I mean, you can have bits hanging off just so it looks a bit cool, but make sure it's all attached. I'm also going to kind of put my finger in there just to get rid of any blotchy rubbish. I will not swear. So that's your hole done. That sounds wrong. Oh my god. So that's the bullet hole done. So I am going to set it now. Now you need to set it with some translucent powder. If you don't set it with translucent powder, it's possibly going to fall off. I mean, it's got spirit gum, it's got like 2 layers of spirit gum, it's sticky wax, there's Vaseline, it is very oily. So you need to set it with some powder so it can stay put, and also the foundation can just glide over the top of it. So I'm taking some RCMA loose translucent. It's just the powder I normally use, powder I trust. And I'm going to take a brush that I don't mind ruining. It won't ruin, but you know, just in case it does get a bit mangled. I'm going to take little bits of powder at a time and start by powdering the edges where the spirit gum was and all that stuff. And I'm patting it on, I'm not brushing it on, because if you brush it, it'll move. I know it sounds simple, but you know, you can make mistakes. This will dry out all the wax as well, so it'll feel even heavier because there's no moisture, and it won't be able to move around as much, so it will feel a lot heavier now. Just powder all the wax, even the middle bit. Make sure it's all in there. Just make sure the entire thing's set. And I use a little brush, like a little eyeshadow brush. You can go in with a big brush, you can go in with whatever brush you like. I'm going in with this because I need to be a bit more detailed and precise. Don't go in with a powder puff, because if you start, that's just a bit stupid really, isn't it? I mean, nothing needs to be said there. And as you can see, just by using the brush, it's kind of torn a bit up here. Doesn't matter. We're not going for accuracy, we're not going for anything spectacular, so don't worry about that. And I'm going to take just a fluffy brush, something really loose and light, and just brush off very lightly any excess powder. You can even pat, because that will pick up any of the powder. Let's have a look at it. Okay. So even using just loose translucent powders kind of blended it in. It looks like it's, around this bit especially, it looks like it's kind of a similar tone. Oh my god. Similar tone to my skin. Oh, I've just dropped powder everywhere. Yeah, my god. Oh my god. I can't just be clean, can I? I always have to be messy and get powder everywhere. So I am gonna let that sit. So let's get some foundation and let's do the rest of the face. And then I'll show you how to cover this up with foundation stuff as well. So for the skin, I'm going to do the skin like I normally do. It's just going to be a little bit tweaked to make this last a bit longer. So first I'm going to take the e.l.f. Poreless Primer. Now I like the putty one, so I gathered that this is the same but a liquid. It's not even a liquid, it's like a cream in a bottle really. Now I'm not going to put too much up here, I'm literally just going to rub a slight amount there because I have a lot of pores in my forehead. Not even a bullet wound's going to stop me from blurring them. Make sure I put a lot on the nose because I have a lot of blackheads and pores and stuff. This primer is basically the same as the putty one, but it's just an actual primer form, if you know what I mean, which I prefer. So for foundation, I'm going to use MAC Studio Fix because it is the foundation I used on the client when I did this kind of wax stuff. It is going to be a little bit more tanned than my complexion just because I'm not really tanned at the moment, I've been stuck inside. But I'm gonna make it work with concealer. So let's just dab little amounts. And I only use a spatula because it doesn't come with a pump because MAC are a bit stupid. So I'm gonna do the bottom half of my face first and then do the top after. Just blending it out with a little brush. Then just taking a sponge, just a clean sponge just to dab over. Make sure everything's blended out. There's no patchy bits. Don't know about you, but I feel like this is a very light coverage for me today. It's not as full. So now for the top part, I'm just going to take tiny amounts of foundation up here, just little bits, and try and blend them out with the same foundation brush. Just be a bit careful. And when you get to the actual wax, just very lightly go over the top. It should stay on because you've got all that glue, all that powder, and the foundation should just sit on top. Now I'm just going to take little dabbles of foundation just on the back of my hand and just work it into the wax. So I'm just going on the edges first, just dabbing very lightly, not pulling too much on it, and just kind of blending it into the skin. So there we go. I'm going to take the same sponge, just go over the forehead. I'm going to lightly go on the edges of the wax just so it's all kind of pushed in. There's no foundation just sitting there, and lightly press over the top just so there's no foundation just sitting there building up. And I am going to take a little fluffy brush, a tiny little eyeshadow brush, but I use it for like foundation and stuff. I'm going to get really close up and just lightly dab over any bits that I kind of missed. So any like obvious bits. I don't mind the wax showing through, I don't mind it lifting. Just any bits where it's like my actual skin showing through. Now it's obviously going to be hard to do because it's a bunch of wax on your forehead, so don't worry too much about it. So I'm going to contour my forehead now. So I'm going to just plop a little bit of contour there because I cream contour. I mean, if you don't cream contour, you don't have to do this, it's fine. But I'm just going to do this so I can set my forehead in place and then do the rest of it whilst that's set. So I'm going to quickly do some concealer. I'm just using the Too Faced Multi Sculpt, my favourite concealer, just because I know I can do this really quickly and it'll work. And then just contouring with the Revolution foundation stick. Just a really quick job, nothing spectacular. As long as it works, it's fine. And now I'm going to set it all with the RCMA powder, just the same powder we used before. Use a big fluffy brush for this one and just pat it all over. And for the little scar bit, just make sure you're very careful and just lightly dab over it and make sure it's set. And make sure you blend your lip contour before you set it, just because it's a bit of a pain to do when you have set it already. And then just brush off all the excess powder. So now I'm going to add some bruising and colour into this to make it look like I've actually been shot. So I'm going to take the P. Louise Worldy palette. I can't pick it up because it will just ruin everything. So I'm going to take the shade Explore, which is like a khaki green shade. I'm just going to lightly, on a fluffy brush, just take it slightly over the edge on some parts where most of the cracking is, just to add like a green bruised effect. And don't worry too much, it's not going to stay green. We're going to blend it out like browns, red, yellow, so it looks kind of a murky, bruised colour. And it doesn't matter if it looks too textured or bumpy, that's what you want, because you want it to look realistic, you want it to look like the skin peeling off. But it's all buggered up basically. And I'm going to add a slight part along the edge of this, the actual hole part, and I'm going to add some in the centre just to add a little bit of colour in there, just to get it started. Then I'm going to take a kind of yellow shade, it's called Lounge, from the same palette, and just blend out the green ever so slightly, just so it looks kind of like damaged, bruised skin. And I'm going to take the Clientele palette by BPerfect. I'm just going to take a bunch of like browny red shades and just mess around, see what colours I can come up with. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I'm going to start by adding them in the actual bullet hole, because that's where the most colour's going to be. I can kind of test how the wax is going to react to these shadows. And then just taking the same brushes with the same eyeshadows on and just blending them out, just like you do with eyeshadow on the eye. And I'm going to take a close-up mirror because I can't see what I'm doing. Then with some very thin brushes, I'm going to take the same red, but I'm just going to concentrate it right on the edge of the lifted wax part, just to give it some kind of contour and definition. I'm also going to take some light brown shades, some lighter ones, just so I can blend out the edges so it kind of melts into the skin. It won't be exact, but it'll look somewhat decent, I guess. And I'm going to take the slightest bit of the black eyeshadow, just the tiniest amount, and slightly go on the edges just to make it look super defined. Just to add some darkness to it so it looks a bit more 3D. I'm also just dotting some of the black eyeshadow around just to darken bits. Just make it a little bit more undead-like, if you know what I mean. And I'm going to add a slight bit of this, like, it's called Sultry. It's like a greyish purple mauve tone. And I'm just going to blend out some of the edges with this just to give it a bit more of a blue shift. I'm just adding the black shadow on a very small brush, but it's circular. So I can get right in there and just dabble it in and make it look as dark as possible, especially along the edges of it. So that's it for the bruising effect. I am going to go and add some lashes, lips and all that stuff, and I'll be back to show you the blood, and that will be the final part. So now it's time for the blood. I've added on my lashes and lips. The lashes are just Doll Beauty lashes, I think it's Flinny and Esmeralda, I believe. And the lips are just, I think it's a P. Louise lip liner and I think it's House Laboratories gloss, a Gaga gloss. I know, rarely wear her stuff, but it's pretty good. So for the blood, I'm going to be using the Coagulated blood gel. That is a mouthful to say. This is from Mehron and it's basically coagulated. It's basically thicker than like your runny, typical watery blood. Like it's more of a gel, so it's very thick. I mean, look at this. I mean, that is just, it's really thick and it's disgusting and perfect. So basically, if you want to know what is in the gel, I think it's just sugar. I think it's just like, I don't know, it's like oh, it's cornstarch, that's what it is. It's basically just cornstarch that's turned to like liquid, that's all it is. It's nothing, you know, harmful or anything like that. It actually, in the academy that I'm at, we do use it in the lips and on the teeth. You can swallow it, it just tastes like menthol, I believe. So I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to start with a very small brush. Because it comes with a brush, I'm actually going to use my brush on that one because it's very thick, it's not runny or anything. And I'm going to start with a mirror hand. And I'm going to start by just dotting it around the edges of the hole. Just taking a little bit at a time and just doing the edges first, then I'll do the centre and then I'll draw blood everywhere. I mean, blood's pretty simple to use, you've just got to remember not to use too much. I've used too much in the past and it just looks very costumey. If you want it to be realistic, use as little as possible and dab it on, because obviously we're thinking about the scenario. I've already been shot, I've not just been shot, so it's kind of like, it's settled in places. So it's just dotted around. I like to dot it in the cracks because the texture will help the blood kind of settle on. Now the wax is actually coming off in parts, so be careful. If the wax does start lifting and coming off, just kind of like smooth the blood over it. So like this part, I'm just gonna lightly paint over it just a little bit because the blood will sit there, it won't move or anything. And it will kind of hide any bits, and if it's peeling, it's peeling. It just looks like skin's coming off, that's all. And now I'm working on the little drip, so I'm going to do a drip that kind of comes down. It kind of comes down the eye part. So I'm just placing it on very lightly in small sections to get that effect. And I'm building it up like that, and I will take a thinner brush and kind of dribble it down, but for now I'm just going to leave that. And for the inside bit, I'm taking a pencil brush. This is from Water Drag, I believe. And I'm just going to dabble it in the centre, kind of just painting it on. I'm not putting too much because this is gel, so it does like move and stick to itself. But I'm trying to cover as much as I can inside that little hole, kind of like that. And with a very thin brush, I must actually say that if you're going to use brushes, please use brushes that you do not mind getting ruined, because this gel will ruin your brushes. These are from like the pound shop and those are Water Drag brushes. I don't mind ruining them as such. So I'm going to just draw this line down my nose, kind of like that. Now for realism, I'm just going to alter the line, make it thicker in parts. I'm also going to take the smaller brush we used earlier and just dabble bits on, because it just looks a bit more realistic when you dabble it. And then I'm going to put some in the nose, because why not? So I'm going to put a tiny bit in this nostril, and I'm just going to have it dripping down just a tad. So that's basically it for the blood. I might add more, tweak some later. This is probably going to get tweaked a bit because it's a bit thick on the nose, but I kind of like it. It's a bit unpredictable. So I'm going to go and add my wig and outfit very carefully, because I will get blood on it. And I'll be back for the final reveal. So guys, this is a finished and completed look. How do you think I did? So this is the completed gory SFX Bullethole Glamoween kind of look. This is my first time doing any special effects makeup on myself, and it's like the third time I've ever done it ever. Now, It was hard. I might have looked calm, I might have looked presentable, but deep down I was having a complete mental breakdown on this entire thing. I'm having a mental breakdown now because this wig is doing my boxing. Really enjoyed doing this. I don't really enjoy doing Halloween looks that much, as you can probably tell, because I've not uploaded any Halloween looks. But this is my kind of look. It's like what I call glamoween. So it's glam with a touch of gore, a touch of something ooky spooky, something just a little on the nose, but not like, oh my God. I say a little on the nose, I've got a bloody bullet hole in my head. I really enjoyed doing this look. It didn't take that long. It actually, I don't know what time it is now. What time is it? It's about 8 o'clock and I think I started at about 4. That is a long time. That's 4 hours. So it did take a little bit of a while, but no longer than like a normal YouTube tutorial takes me, so it'd be great. If you do recreate this look for Halloween, or if you recreate it on someone else, or if you create it for a look, please, please, please tag me at Kardi Black MUA on Instagram if you're posting it there, or just send me it, or comment on my YouTube on this video and I'll have a look at it and I'll support you. Please recreate it because it's actually really fun. So thank you guys for watching another one of my tutorials. I hope this one was fun, entertaining. I hope it taught you something, taught me something. I now know how to do SFX makeup. I'm learning here on YouTube with you guys. Ooh. So thank you again for watching. Please don't forget to like and leave a comment on this video, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next tutorial. Bye guys.